This podcast is intended for mature audiences, so grow up. I'm Leslie, and I'm a storyteller. But these aren't just any stories. These are my stories, untold until now. A Gen Xer who's lived through it all. The analog days, the digital dawn, and everything in between. I'm turning the mic on myself to share true stories, awkward moments, the maybe you had to be there experiences that shaped who I am. From the suburban battlefields of being a childhood nobody to the existential angst of adulthood, I'm taking you on a journey through the events, the people, and the pop culture that defined my experience. This is Gen X Crossing, Episode 4. This is the beginning of a short series that I'm going to call The Hustle Chronicles. I got my first real job outside of babysitting the Saltzman kids when I was 17. My dad had been bugging me about once a week that it was time to start work. I complained to him that I'd tried and that no one would hire me. Well, this was partially true. I had applied for a job bussing tables at Red Lobster on Wadsworth when I was 15 years old. I can totally see myself in the dark blue plaid skirt my mother had made me and a matching blue long-sleeved dress shirt, pantyhose, the works. I looked like I was going to church on a Thursday afternoon. My sister, Virginia, my ride, had waited for me in her Chevelle in the parking lot, even though I had begged her to come in with me. You have to do this yourself, Les. I had practiced what to say over and over before getting there, but I still managed to mangle my pitch, asking the manager if I could flip out an acclamation. He ignored my blunder, stared at me briefly, his hands on his hips, then looked me up and down. "How old are you?" he asked, like I was trying to buy beer or something. "I'm 15, but I can get a note from my parents." My sister had coached me to say this. I'd barely squeaked out the words when he said matter-of-factly, "You have to be 16 to work here, kid. Come back after you turn 16. I was so embarrassed by this rejection, I couldn't bear to try it anywhere else. Problem solved. I'm too young. I managed to get by with that excuse for 2 more years. There were advantages to being the last born in the family. By the time my parents got to me, they had other things on their minds. Helping me get a driver's license, encouraging me to go to school and make friends and get a job weren't priorities. I didn't mind. I took full advantage of the near invisibility and stayed under the radar and out of their hair. This worked perfectly until one night when my dad came home from work, to me staring at the TV yet again. "Go get a job," he said to me, still in his work boots and his yellow freight company-issued shirt. That's when you knew he was pissed, when he didn't stop to get changed first. "I can't do it tonight," I said lamely. He looked at me as if to say, "Really? You know what I mean." "But no one will hire me," I whined. "I tried." "Oh, bull roar." We did not use profanity in our house. "Don't you want spending money? More than the allowance you're getting for doing work around the house?" "Spending money for what?" I said. "I don't have a car. I don't go anywhere." "You need to start taking care of yourself, buying your own clothes, things like that. And you'll be out of school in a year and a half, and then you'll be on your own." "Dad, that's a long ways away," I answered. Man, I had some balls back then. "I don't care," he said, walking out of the room and turning off the TV on his way. "Get a job." The next day, I was griping to my best friend Shonda after school on the phone. "CASA's hiring. You don't have to have any experience. I love working there." CASA referred to Casa Bonita, which, unless you live under a rock with no Wi-Fi, you know about through South Park. There were other locations, but of course as a 17-year-old I hadn't left Colorado, so they might as well have been on Mars for all I knew. Anyway, there are other podcasts that give you the history, so I'll rein myself in and get back to my story. I kinda already knew what I was in for when I applied at Casa Bonita. Our family had visited there once on my 10th birthday, but my sister and her friend and our cousin had worked there too when they were in high school. Like Shonda, they seemed to like it too. I dressed up for my second job interview in my life. More pantyhose, dress shoes, again, the works. Shonda gave me a lift to fill out an application, since she was scheduled later in the evening anyway. I walked in the front door feeling a low-grade dread that fun time was over. I could hear the mariachis playing in the background, see customers milling around. At 3 in the afternoon, I thought, on a weekday? This must really be a nice restaurant to be busy when it's not even lunchtime, I thought. When I finished the app, I was interviewed on the spot. This is a hard job, Robin, one of the 2 supervisors, warned me in my interview. But we have a lot of fun, too. Are you willing to work hard? She smiled and then added, oh, and we get tips. Well, we share the tips. Dennis, the other supervisor, chimed in his flat, vaguely nervous voice. I could tell he wasn't going to be much fun. He had jet black hair, he was tall and bone-thin, like son of the crypt keeper. His eyes were way too sunken in for his age. He was humorless that day and every day after that I worked with him, the gray cloud to Robin's sunny disposition. But the more availability you have, the more money you can make, so since you're at Jefferson, Wheatridge, I knee-jerk corrected him, interrupting. He paused. Really? Wheatridge High? On 32nd Avenue? He said, looking disappointed in me. Are you going to be able to get here when you're scheduled, on time? That's a long ways away. No, I live near here, I clarified, then added, and everyone in my family drives except me, so they can bring me. Fingers crossed, I super did not want to walk to work and home. Oh, okay, he said, then continued. Since your school's in, it will mean you being available on weekends, and on weekends we do split shifts. Okay, I said, without having any clue what a split shift was. I didn't even bother to ask, of course. I was hired on the spot. Start date in 3 days. That's not much time to get all of this, my mother said, dismayed, looking at the dress requirements. I wish you had told him a week from now, Leslie. I didn't know I could do that. Well, you can next time, my sister chimed in. Then she turned to our mother. I can help her get this stuff, Mom. My sister, Christine, as I mentioned, had worked there herself for a year, which sounded to me like a really long time. She made it all the way up to sopapilla cook in the time she'd been there, and her friend Lynn had worked there 3 years and was a cocktail waitress when she left. Don't let the mariachis keep you from doing your job, she warned me as we shopped for shoes at Montgomery Ward. They'll sit there and flirt with you like you have all the time in the world, which, trust me, you won't. They can get you written up or even fired. Before my training even started, I had this growing, rumbling fear of getting the old heave-ho. The dress code for the girls was a black skirt that was at least 4 inches below the knee, nude pantyhose, a white short-sleeved collared shirt, preferably buttoned down, which we could not afford, so I did not have, and plain black loafers with gum soles. It's a grippier type of sole for restaurant work. We called them granny shoes. On my first day, my hand shook as I put on my new uniform and tried pulling up my hair in a tight bun. At the advice of Shonda, I used plenty of bobby pins for any strays that would look unkempt. The bobby pins also came in handy for securing to my head the scarf I would be issued, which matched a loud, tropical patterned apron, ruffled on the edges with a green background, which also matched the curtains that covered the security office and other windows of the secret doors of the restaurant. Since I had spent my 10th birthday at Casa, I was familiar with the layout of the restaurant. It hadn't changed any in the 7 years since my visit that I could see. But that first day of training, getting to tour the restaurant and sample food as a guest, was sort of honeymoon-like. Work honeymoon, I guess. I kind of wish I had stopped there because the underbelly of a restaurant of this size was pretty disenchanting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That first day after orientation, how to clock in, where the kitchen was, where you were never allowed to go. Robin, my main supervisor, thank God, took we new girls through the line like we were customers, making our selection, taking our tray as it was anonymously and quickly slid out of a tiny window. From there, she had us pause briefly at the base of the ramp at the end of the food line. A waitress appeared seemingly out of nowhere, took the tray of the smallest of us and led us to our section. Robin walked backward, escorting us as we made our way. So every waitress starts here. Once you have some experience and you know where each section is, we'll assign you to your own sections, she informed us, glancing behind her and continuing her backward stroll. Tina's going to take us to Plaza and we'll take you through each area of the restaurant. While you eat, I'm going to go over everything that Tina's doing. Pay attention because you will need to know this. We paused at the tables nearest to a romantically lit cove with a real waterfall. This is Cliffside, and down there, Robin said, gesturing to our right, is Poolside. Everyone will want to sit here, but no one will be able to. There's just too many people. It's first come, first serve, but we'll talk more about that later. We continued, wide-eyed, taking a left up the stairs next to the Sopapilla station. Plaza was a series of booths and tables, most seating medium to larger parties, including one room with a huge table for parties of 10 to 12. There was Lower Plaza and Upper Plaza, the latter of which Robin said tended to be a bit more quiet unless it was the middle of summer. This was November. The walls painted a yellowish sand color to look like a Mexican village, I guess. I had never been. Were decorated with brightly colored flowers and designs. Lights were strung below the recessed lighting. It was a vibe. As we ate our deluxe meals, enchiladas, rice, beans, a taco, Robin pointed out the server station behind us, where Tina would disappear from time to time. She assured us that we would get to know those stations really well because they would come in handy for us when it came time to refill a drink or clean a table, or hide out for a sec, I would later learn. Did you notice that Tina took Jennifer's tray for her? You always want to take the tray of the smallest kid if there are kids. Cuts down on spills. You'll get good enough that you can carry 2 at a time eventually, but we try to make sure that kids' meals are 2 to a tray. If you get a party with a bunch of kids or old people, we'll have someone else help you run up the trays. If there aren't any small kids, just take the tray of the first person in the group. We like for it to be the head of the household, but some men don't like a woman carrying their tray, so just keep an eye out. I wished I'd brought something to take notes on. This was so much. Anyway, when you're only running trays, I or Dennis or one of our assistant supervisors will tell you which section to take them to. Just make eye contact and we'll let you know. When you're walking your party to their table, make a connection, say, "Follow me, please," and ask them how their day is going. They'll have questions for you, they always do. Here's some common things that people will ask while you're escorting them to their section. The most common is the one I already told you about. Can we sit by the divers? Anyone can walk around for as long as they want to after they eat, so it doesn't matter whether or not they sit at the table. Don't say that second part that it doesn't matter. Just talk about the good part, that they can walk around whenever they want to. If they want to save their table, all they'll need to do is put up their flag. Robin demonstrated raising the red vinyl flag attached to a wood stand at the head of our table, and we'll hold it for them while they walk around. Okay, now I really wished I'd brought some paper with me. Other questions? How big is our building? What's our capacity? How often are the shows? When will they see the mariachis? We're going to give you a little piece of paper to keep, but I want you to memorize it. The building is 52,000 square feet. We can accommodate 1,000 people. The shows are twice an hour, and the mariachis will be wandering around the whole time they're here. They do get breaks, but we keep the music playing so they won't know the difference, except if they ask for the mariachi band to sing happy birthday to someone in their party. In that case, you let them know that you will have to ask them to come to their table sometime during their visit. Oh my gosh, how on earth was I going to remember all this? And that was only the beginning. Robin continued to walk us through the customer experience. So here we are at our table. Tina has seated us. She has gotten us our drinks, and she's answered our questions on the way up here. Let's talk more about this flag. We mentioned that a customer can put the flag up to save their table if they want to get up and walk around. But this flag has a lot more purpose than that. It's a really important part of your taking care of our customers. It probably doesn't seem that loud in here to you right now, but imagine a room filled with people. Imagine every table being full of adults, children, grandmas, grandpas. The mariachis are walking around. People are getting up and leaving, and other people are coming. Then, all of a sudden, Grandma needs tacos. Do you think you'd be able to hear her? Probably not. But you can see in a quick glance that someone at her table needs something because their flag is raised. You see it, you come right away, and Grandma and the whole party are happy because Grandma has her tacos. And that's the key. You come as soon as you see that flag. We listened intently as Robin continued. Tina, can you give us a few tips? Robin asked in what seemed like a very rehearsed way, but sincere, bringing Tina back to the forefront from her station. Yeah, I sure can, she said chirpily. It's really pretty simple. Seat the customer, explain how the flag works, make sure everyone has their meals, and just check on them every few minutes. They love sopapillas, and they can have as many as they want. But most people get full after the first basket and just decide to walk around. You'll have a few who want more to drink or more tacos or who want to save the table, but really, it's not that many. Thanks, Tina, Robin said as if on cue. If everyone is done with their food, Tina will bring us our sopapillas and we can finish our tour of the customer side. Then we'll see the kitchen and we'll finish up our orientation in the training room. After that, I'll have you shadow a section. That means you'll follow them around and watch what they do. I was simply enamored by the uniqueness of each section. Plaza, gold mine, silver mine, the theater, the diving pool, Black Bart's cave. The wonderful smell of the sopapillas, and a new feature, an arcade. Each shift, we would clock in, check our section assignment, and do a final appearance check. There was a mirror in the tiny locker room so that you could be sure that your hair was pulled back tightly enough and that your apron was tied correctly in a double knotted bow. There was this little hidden door on the other side of the kitchen that led out to the base of the ramp, and that was where we would magically appear to escort customers. Once your assigned section opened up, you would stay there and work that section, quickly bussing your tables right after the customers left and preparing for the next group, wiping down everything with a bucket of water from the station, using a carpet sweeper to get up chip crumbs and cheese shreds while someone else brought your customers in a steady flow. In every section was a little box with a slot on the top, labeled in bright yellow paint, tips. It was mounted on a dark brown heavy wood base. Every time you bus a table, Dennis said to us during his shift on our shadowing phase, you make sure you put the tip right in the box because you don't want to forget if you leave it in a pocket. Forget. Right. It was a nice way of saying don't steal the tips. Everyone worked equally hard, he said, and it wasn't fair for us to get tips just for serving the customer when somebody else was working so hard in the kitchen, or keeping the place clean, or diving. If we all worked hard enough, he said, it would be reflected in our paychecks by getting more tips. This kind of bugged me even at 17, especially after I got to know some of the guys who worked in the kitchen. They were not paid wait staff wages, but a much higher hourly rate. Didn't seem fair. Still, I would have never dreamed of not following the rules, which of course in this case could get you instantly fired. Weekends were always nuts, even in the winter. "It's gonna be another big night," Robin or Dennis would excitedly inform us as we clocked in. "Walkie's big." This meant that the assistant supervisors would be using walkie-talkies to communicate with the supervisors, indicating when there was a free table in a section for a new party. It was a constant flow of human trains of trays docking at my section. Me giving the welcoming speech, answering flags, cleaning up spills, bussing tables, depositing the tips, pushing politely through crowds of people to retrieve baskets of sopapillas. Occasionally, I could get a quick breath, and then it would all repeat again. Those days, I would be scheduled to work the lunch rush, 10:30 until 1, and then come back again at 5:30 and work until 11, with 2 15-minute breaks on the second shift. Every section of the restaurant was constantly full between about 6 and 10. Each section had its pluses. It was either beautiful or it was easy to access. And its minuses: crowded, stuffy, ugly, lots of stairs. One of the sections I hated the most was theater, where there would be magic shows, jugglers, balloon artists, and I swear I remember even a ventriloquist was there once. It was downstairs, the basement of the restaurant, near Gold and Silver Mine. The tables were so close together in theater, like claustrophobically close, and it was hard to weave through them to bring drink refills and sopapillas. Plus, if there was a show going on stage, you were clearly in the way. And if there wasn't, the customers were like, "What are we doing down here?" asking when the next show was, etc., etc. It was a drag to work in theater. On the other hand, it was the first to close when traffic started to die down, so there was the plus. Time absolutely crawled on these busy Saturday nights. No matter how fast I moved, how much I hustled, they just kept coming. Until finally, Dennis and Robin would start closing sections from the bottom up. Silver and Gold Mine, and as I mentioned, theater were usually first. And so waitresses in those areas would be asked to help their fellow servers after they'd cleaned up and passed their own inspection to help wind down other sections. This would rarely happen, as no one in their right mind would hurry up and to go clean somebody else's section, but some of us did, like me. I personally got a second wind just getting out of my section and having a chance to relax a bit, so I didn't mind scrubbing tables in someone else's half-closed section in return for that. Casa in the winter was a nice place to be. The pretty lighting, the smell of the oil that the sopapillas were being fried in. I would slip and slog my way through the slushy employee parking lot, holding a wad of my skirt in my fist to keep it from getting wet. My feet, though, were on their own as the snow melted through my laces and soaked my pantyhose. That could make for a long shift, so I'd try to dry them as best I could with paper towels from the employee bathroom. One winter evening, a group of about 10 Texans coming back from a ski trip was seated in my section, Plaza, one of the busiest. I was proud to be assigned there on a weekend because it meant they knew I could do it, but it would be really hard work. I got lucky because the group was extremely nice and they had a good sense of humor. They waited patiently for their sopapillas while I chased down mariachis to sing happy birthday to a little girl a few tables over from them. "Hey!" the lead guitarist said to me sweetly as I approached them. They were very handsomely dressed. "'Kay?" he asked, smiling at me when I said I needed him to sing happy birthday to someone. Tina, rushing by me with 2 Cokes in tall, red plastic glasses, paused. "Jorge, stop pretending you don't speak English." Then turning to me, she said, "Just tell them what you need and get back to your tables." I explained to them again that it was a birthday, and he nodded and followed me up the stairs. As I brought them over to the party with the young girl, Jorge tapped my forearm. "You stay and sing with us." Grinning again, No, I said, I have to go. No, you stay, he said. Sing, motioning me for me to join in. I felt like such an idiot. Was I supposed to sing with him? Dennis happened by, and he waited in the wings till we were done and I had delivered the sopapillas to the other table. We don't have time to be singing with the mariachis, he said after he pulled me aside. Don't do that again. I did not appreciate being scolded. I was the new person. They knew what they were supposed to do. They had tricked me. I said as much to Dennis. He just looked at me and then said, "Don't flirt with them." I was so pissed. From then on, I would just come up and get them and say birthday and blank and name the section and walk away. I'm not sure if the Texans heard him call me out, but they left a very generous tip, almost $400 by today's standards. If I had had pockets in my skirt, I am not entirely sure I wouldn't have kept that money. I made it home after my shift around 11. I wandered in, my feet dragging, seeing my 12-year-old cousin who was spending the night up late watching TV. "You look so tired," she said. "Do you want me to make you something to eat?" I said no, I could take care of it. I opened a can of soup, ate it cold, and fell asleep in my dad's recliner. Considering I only lasted at that job 7 months, I am amazed how much I remember. Like their canned nacho cheese, the creepy kitchen worker who was twice my age who kept trying to get me to go out with him. He came up behind me one night and kissed my neck and nibbled on my earlobe while I was sitting there filling out my time card. I was freaked out. My next shift, I told him that I just wanted to be friends, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You, kissing me." "That never happened," he said, scoffing at me and shaking his head as he walked away. I also had nightmares that I couldn't leave my section because it was never clean enough and Dennis wouldn't release me. I really wanted to make it a year. People who did got a plaque on the back wall with their name on it. But when I threw my back out at 17, schlepping a tray of bust dishes to the kitchen, I had some time to think. Robin had stationed me in the treasure room, where kids could go and pick out a cheap little plastic toy or a piece of candy on their way out. I wondered as I ate my fill of candy from the treasure box if there might be other jobs out there that weren't so hard. There had to be. More on that next time. Thank you for listening. There are many, many more stories to come. Some will crack you up. Some might make you sad. Some are just stories. All of them really happened. If you enjoy my podcast, I invite you to like and subscribe. Until next time, peace out.